Starting with the DAX on the daily chart here, the most probable count is that we have wave 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 here, and then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 coming up to here. Now wave 3's got the extension in it, so that would make wave 1 here and wave 5 here, well, same, but not exactly. The other question that that I have with this is that this particular move up here is 5 waves, so we can pull back to the 61.8% and then have wave 3, 4 and 5 moving to the upside at that point. So I'm unsure about that. And the alternative count for this as well, which would line us up with the S&P 500, would be looking at this as wave 1 here and wave 2 over here, and then looking at this as wave 1 here and wave 2 coming into this space here. So looking at that particular picture with the S&P here as 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, and we were looking at 5 waves moving up here, and we do have 5 waves up here. We've come down rather quickly. The Feds have spoken, and they will be speaking again today, and the ADP figures, in private employment figures, will be out today as well. So we're going to see, and Jeremy Powell speaking again tonight as well. So we're going to see a bit of volatility in and around this area, and I don't particularly want to make too many decisions in all of this. I'll just stay where we are for the moment with this as this pattern. And yeah, I mean, the other point with this, when Jeremy Powell spoke, we've seen the US dollar push to the upside. And yeah, so where's my little wave 4 gone in here? It's gone adrift. So there's a couple of different ways to look at this as well. I think one of the important things here though is that we are not near our 50-60% target area over here for that. And this move up here can be counted in different ways, but whichever way you count it, you end up with a, unless you go into the WXYs, you end up with a problem at one point or another. So you could put this up here as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here, and then have this B wave over here. Definitely a wave 4 or a B wave at this point. I was going for the wave 4 and then going up for wave 5 here. Now, even when we move up to wave 5, we could still have that as wave A here and wave B here, and then, you know, wave C coming in over here somewhere for this, you know, not that wave 5, of course, but wave C of B. So we, you know, we can still, there's a variety of ways we can move up, and we don't have a change in trend to the downside here. So that's going to put pressure on any country outside of the US that trades in US dollars. So that's where we are. This is still moving up, and we expected it to move up. We're expecting it to turn. There is a possibility when this 5th wave here exhausts around the 10,600. We'll have a closer look at that when we have a look at the currencies. So you can exhaust at around that 10.6 there, the first high above the level across the 105 area. So it's possible for it to turn there. It doesn't have to go to the 50% or the 60%. But at the same time, I don't have any evidence whatsoever of the market coming down at this point in time. We're seeing impulse waves to the upside and corrective waves to the downside. So the trend is still intact. It hasn't been destroyed in any way. So as they say, you need to stay with the trend, and the trend for the US dollar is up. And as mentioned, there will be some volatility with Jay Powell speaking tonight and the ADP figures coming out. There's a few other things happening as well, so a bit of volatility there. We don't have the 105 as the support, so I'm sure that as this pushes up here further towards the 106, it will eventually come back and check it. In that check there, then that top will be a possibility for a top being in place. Now, if there is a top being in place there, then we'll see the S&P push up at that point too. So we'll see, because we have 5 waves here. So we should get a counter trend at that point, even though it's come deep and it's a little bit scary and all the rest of it. I just want to give it a bit of time before I make any brash decisions on anything as such. So coming back to the DAX here, the DAX, like I said, we could look at it like the S&P with wave 1 and 2 here, and then wave 1 and 2 up here. In fact, we could also put wave 1, I mean, basically, sorry about that, we could put wave 1 and 2 here for this, and then look at this as wave 1 and 2 coming back here. So that would be the same as, that would be in tune with the S&P 500, and that fits quite nicely at that point there as well. That wave 3 would come to here, and wave 4 would come to here, and so on. So we could look at it as 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. So I don't know, but at the same time, with this too, we're seeing impulse waves to the upside and corrective waves to the downside. I haven't seen a change. There's not technically a change in trend at this point. We could say, well, Pete, it looks pretty toppy. That's just an opinion. I don't have any evidence of actually a move down as yet. So we will look for short trades if we see the need to do that, and in the need to do that, we would see that we'd want to see a collapse of this. We'd want to see a move back down into the 15 here, and then a 3-wave move to the upside. So we'd want to see a complete 5-wave sequence to the downside and an ABC correction, and then we can look to short. But in shorting at that point, we also need to be careful. We'll need to see where everything else is at that point in time. So if this was going to be wave 1 up here, and there's a good possibility to have this finish over here too as wave, it can go right here on this top, or we can put it over here with another little 5 waves to go. Now, some of the resources in Australia, some BHPs of the world, Rio, FMG, if you know those sort of stocks, they kind of got the same thing from, well, a November low here. Same thing of a push up, and we're looking for a wave 2 to come back in those. So there is, all the countries are pretty well connected, and they trade together, and they're spending with each other and so on. So there's a lot of synergies that we would be unaware of at wholesale levels and so on. So this move here is very much like the Australian market, except that the Australian market has already been pulling down as this one's been going sideways here. So there's different ways to look at this whole situation. That's the a little issue with this, So I don't have a long trade set up. If we get an ABC pattern through here, and we get the S&P 500, if the S&P 500 can find support back on the 4,000, then we can scale in here between 4,010 and 4,020 and 4,030. That's where we can build in intraday moves, and then onto the 4,050 if that's going to be the case. And there is a bearish case for this as well. We know that. I'm not going to go into that at the moment, but this would have to be breached down here for that. And if we were going to go down, for instance, then I would want 5 waves down here, and then I'd want a retest of the 4,000 as a counter trend, and then we would look at coming, much lower, taking this low out here at that point. So that's another story. We are tracking the bearish count, but the bullish count will come, the bullish trade setup will come before the bearish count comes into play at this point. We could also have a bearish count with a push up to here again and then down at that point. So we're not confirmed as being bullish just yet either. Do you know what I mean? It's not set in stone. Nothing is set in stone at this point. The reason I am bullish for is because of stocks, big stocks like Tesla and Apple and Nvidia and a few others at that point. Those stocks. There are bearish stocks as well. This top area here is a little bit of a mystery. We can, as I mentioned, we can look at it in different ways. We'll just go through the normal pattern here. We can look at this. We were looking at this yesterday, moving up with the S&P. The S&P's come further down. We haven't really come down a long way in terms of of a 50-60% retracement level in these just yet here. We could do that. You know, it looks a little bit impulsive here. We'll have a closer look at that. I don't know if, you know, the thing is, I don't know if we come to here and then go up at that point, you know, as 3, 4 and 5. We have to wait and see about that. We'll see what we get to the 61.8%. If we get 5 waves here, then we're going to get 3 wave counter trend at that point, and then we can look to short at that point. I'm in the middle here. I'm in a rock and a hard place. I can't do anything. I can go long above here. I can wait for this to finish off here, and there's a variety of things that we can do here. On the 10,000, we normally keep the alternative count, which is, well, having wave 1 over here for this, and wave 2 here, and then viewing this here in different ways. It still doesn't make any difference of how this plays out just yet. We're a little bit early to do anything here. We're looking for the turn yesterday. We got that, so we're just looking at this developing into a setup. I mean, what we want here as a long trade setup really is some sort of ABC pattern like that, and then going long above that. Now I can get an ABC pattern through here as well. We can go in, I won't go to the 1,000, I'll go straight into 100. I think we looked at this yesterday, didn't we? Let me just bring in some more data here. So this is our trend to the upside, and maybe I was looking at that at stock 50. Anyway, I can count here as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here for this. So I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coming down here, and that would be the end of it, you know, coming down here, and that would be the end of that structure there. I should just check on the cash market to see if that's actually 1 and 2 there. I could look at that differently. I could bring wave 1 all the way to here if I took that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 1 and 2. Let me just think about that 1 and 2 and 3. Does leave this a little bit high as 4 and 5. I could go that way with it. I'm just gonna have to wait. I'll just check on the cash market for a second, if we can find that. Sorry about that other stuff. Just speaking to somebody in India to try to make up a little chat GPT help module for Elliott Wave. You know, just so you can ask it Elliott Wave questions. So we're just trying to train it with a whole lot of questions and patterns and all that kind of stuff. So I want to have a look at, let's just have a little look around here for a moment or two. Where are we? DAX here. Now is that, okay, that's okay there. That's a weekly chart. Let's just go into 5 minutes here for a moment. Just wanted to check that top, excuse-moi. So that, we can look at that as the top. That's all I really wanted to look at there, just to see which is, I mean, it can be a truncated wave as well, but so we can take it from there. That's one thing, and then that's a little bit hard to read on 5 minutes. I'll just go to 2 minutes. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to there. I can go to 1 to there. So we can do that. That's okay actually. We can go to 1 here, and then that's 5 ways. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That, and then that. So we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could put that there. So that means that I can put that here then, and I could put the B wave. I could do anything with the B. I could just leave it like that for the time being. I just want to see what happens next session. With Jeremy speaking and the ADP figures. I just want to see, you know, and we know that Wednesday and Thursday are swing days, so we know that we've got to go through hell to get to paradise, if that's even the case, you know, or is it just an empty void? Either way, we probably won't have to worry about it. Oh dear. Yeah, it's a funny old thing, life, isn't it? A bit strange being here. Yeah, so this pattern here would be a bit dodgy, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 1, ABC for 2. All of this is the third wave, some sort of AB. I'm not quite sure about that, but end of session, Asian off hours, all that sort of stuff. So we could just have one more low, and that could be it. We could extend down further in all of this. So sometimes what I'd like to do is just grab the high and the low. I'll just put it on the closest largest number, the 500 there, and then I like to think about, well, if that's the 50-60% there, if I was going to go long, if I couldn't figure out the wave count for the like of me, then I would think to myself, well, that B wave is where the supply is, where the support was here, and all that's pretty close in here. So that means that's the closest number 600 here. So if I was going to go long, I would want to make sure that I've got a nice classic trading levels pattern sitting on that 600 over here as my trade setup. It can trade above here, and it can come down through here, and it can re-hit it here and drop at that point. So I need to know what I'm doing, but starting from the top and taking those highs out, then that would be one way, not the only way, but one way to edge forward, because we need to understand, is this going to come down along, is this just wave 1 here and wave 2 here, and are we coming down for a bigger move here? There's a whole lot to go on at this point. We don't know if that's wave 1 at the top there just yet. So I don't really have any answers today for the DAX. When we come to the FTSE here, I've got it on the weekly chart, and so we've got this here as, this move here is corrective here. I know the futures market is pretty much in the same boat as well at this point. We got this corrective pattern here, for the COVID thing. We haven't really taken out the high here. We have, but not a lot, and it does count better as 1 and 2 here, and then 1 ABC for 2 here, 3, 4, 5 up here for the 3rd, 4th and 5th here, an ABC pattern in here. I could wingle this as a 4th wave here, I guess, as 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 up here, but it just doesn't fit when I do my homework on it. So it looks like we can look at this as wave 1 to the upside. So we can look at this as wave 1 to the upside. The other thing here too, if you've got a keen eye, you'll also notice that it's such a nice little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in here. So we could look at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like the S&P 500, and then look at this as 1 and 2 here. So in this case, we know that we've been wanting to, come down a bit, react from that major trading level 8 there. So there's a couple of ways to view this. This is a weekly chart, of course, so we can just go to the daily chart and shoot the breeze on that a bit further. So we've been looking at it as, it's the same thing with the DAX and the S&P. We've been looking at it as 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 here. But as I mentioned, we can also look at it quite comfortably with wave 1 here and 2 here. And then this would make this wave 1 up here. Not that it's going to make a big difference at this point. Once we were coming up here, we couldn't go long into this number because it was just the risk-reward factor's not there. So in this case, there's a good case for pulling down to here. There's also the case of coming further down into here as well. So this would be a wave 2 situation. Now the FTSE's been doing its own thing, so doesn't need the rest of the world to go with it. It's sorting out its own issues. So we've been looking at this. I don't know on what time frame here. We'll check. So this is a 10K tick chart. So this has got the alternative count on it as 1 and 2 here. So on the 10K we have our alternative bullish count, but 1 and 2 here. So this, we talked about this yesterday as having 5 waves down here. So it's probably a short. I think we're also looking at this on 5,000 ticks as well. So yeah, it was a bit of a thing here yesterday. We were looking at this as 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. and then the third wave here, the fourth and the fifth for the third. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the third wave, the fourth wave and the fifth wave here. So that would be 5 waves down here, and then we're noting this is a B wave here, that roughly that's the 50-60% retracement level at this point. So we can plonk that in there. It's come right onto the 61, so that's all cool at that point. And you know, I mean, in the first instance we can look at the length of wave A here, and we could put this over here for this, you know, so we can expect you know, you could short this down further into all of this. So we put the little green line on that. I wouldn't overdo it because we don't have a good setup at this point, but you know, we should get down to this point here, or we could probably just adjust this here and make it look a bit sexy. But yeah, I mean, like I said, with this, for the long trade for this, is that you know, we've got the arrival, the reaction in 3 waves. Then we'll have the first high above the level coming up here. If that is indeed going to be bullish at that point, we could come deeper, and then the ABC. So really we're over here to go long over here, but we can go long in here, build in this side. We can also trade that up here if that's going to be on the cards as well. But in the meantime, we will be moving lower in the FTSE there. So then we come over to currencies. Now I want to go back to the DXY here for a moment. So this particular top here, and this move that's come down here to the 2nd of February low here, we've been looking at this as 5 waves. So we've been counting the euro and the cable and the Aussie, and you know, there's others as well, but I don't track them. But yeah, so we had that 5 waves down here to the 2nd of Feb, and then we've had having the rally here. So we've been looking at this as an A and a B and a C wave coming into this point here, and then this little move up here, we'll have a little look at that in a moment. As I mentioned, we could probably go to 10.6 at that, and yeah, in a way that will give us like the first little high above the level. So there is a chance that we can come down from this point. Now we haven't moved up here very much at all, but I just want to also have a look. I did have the DXY here somewhere in this thing, surely here. I'll have to go to the Forex if I can't see it. Probably staring at it. I've been looking at charts for hours and hours. Get a bit nutty. And it's a bit difficult when you start off nutty. So I'll just go to the FX side over here somewhere. It's Forex here. Must be in here. There it is. I wonder if that's the futures. Yeah, probably. So I just want to go to the weekly chart. It's not really what I was looking at, but I wanted to look at. Oh, but it still does the same job. Okay, so that's cool. So you just got to be careful of paper money. What I wanted to point out here is that this is a weekly chart, just to make it simple for us. And what we're seeing here, as this is moving up here, you can note that we are diminishing in volume here in its own way. So we're not seeing, like, for a trend to be a trend, and the trend can be up or down, but we do need to see increasing volume with increasing price. So this volume is diminishing while the price is going up. So that's divergence, and it's just going up on hot air, and it won't be going up for long. Famous last words, but generally speaking, that's, you know, that's a bit of evidence that we're not seeing that increasing volume to the upside there in this move here. So it's interesting because, see, the Australian dollar has moved to, is moving into its box here, right? So, and this one here has been lagging, it's been lazy, it hasn't had that volume to come into it to push it. So it's, you know, there's no, I don't think there's any serious money in this, put it that way. So when we look at the Australian in reverse here, from the 2nd of February here, this will be the 2nd of February up the top here. right? And coming down, we've got an A wave and ABC for the B wave. Now, this, we could look at this in a more bearish light and put this as a wave 2 here, but really as a wave 2 should be less days and less time and all of that, same thing, amplitude than this particular, wave 1 here. So because it's taken so long here, it's better off on the 14th of February here. It's better off as a B wave, and that would be this one over here on the 14th of well, it is that one there on the 14th of February. This is a daily chart that I'm looking at, but just bear with me here. And then one of the things that this moving up through here, the wave 4 here overlapped this. So what we could do with this now that we're talking intraday stuff, we just put this on 2K in here. And yeah, so one of the things here that we were looking at is wave 4 here, we thought had overlapped wave 1. Now we do see that now and again, and it could mean something else. Yesterday we were also looking at this being a wave B coming down here further, but it pushed up strong. So also yesterday I mentioned that we've got 5 waves here. So we've got an A and a B and a C here. So we know that it's corrective. We know that we'll take that top out in due course. I don't know if, and there's only 2 things it could be, a wave 4 or wave B. A wave B will take us down, and wave 4 had to push up from that point. So we got the wave 4 was the answer, for that. So now we're pushing up here, but what I wanted to say here, as the A, the B, the 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 here, we've got overlap with this 4 and 1 here, but I'm not that fussed about it, to be honest, because when I have a look at the Australian dollar, and it's one of the larger currencies in the it's not the smallest and all the rest of it, but from the wave B here we've got beautiful 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Basically whatever I call wave 4 here, I mean I had it here yesterday, but I'm just pondering a different scenario here. I'm just pondering that anyway, wave 4 hasn't overlapped wave 1 here, so that was a takeaway on that. And we're in the box here, the 50-60%. Now I could rearrange this here. I need to really study this a bit further. I could put wave 3 down here, and then put a wave 4 over here and those sort of things. But I don't need to do that just yet, because I need to just line things up with the DXY. I could go to wave 4 here and have 1 and 2 here. As I mentioned this morning, we've got further to come down here. We've got 1 and 2 here and 1 and 2. Haven't pulled this apart, but we'll be down at the 65, very close to it. So we'll see how that finishes off. But this is a very nice ABC pattern here. Now, if I overlay this on the euro here, the same count, that would be the February 2nd top up here. That would be Valentine's Day here at the 14th, and then try to get 5 waves down here. We've got an overlap here. Now, I could go and say, well, okay, why don't you just double XY that, Pete, and I could do that and have that as a wave 2, but I'm thinking that let's just run it as a wave 4 here, and let's see how this move down here, because you can see that this move here has got a beginning, the middle here, which will be the 3rd wave and the 5th wave. So it's got further to come down. It needs to take this low out here. What we don't know at this point is this going to be wave 1 here. We get a bounce for wave 2, and then we got 3, 4, 5, because it's a little bit shy of its box here, this big box here, where the Australian dollar is a bit weaker and it's coming in here, and then the DXY is very shy of its box, which will be up here somewhere. I think somewhere up here, so it's quite a long way from it at the moment. So when I look at this here, I look at this as 1 and 2 in here, and then 3 and 4 here, and then looking at 5 waves moving up here to the 1006 as I mentioned. So if I look at this on a 100-tick chart, I think I did do something on this chart here. So from this low here, this is just that trend we're just talking about. So we've got 5 waves here for wave 1 and 2. We can look at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here for the 3rd wave, 4th wave, and then I can go 1 and 2 here, and then I can look at all of this going 3, 4, 5. Now it looks a little bit weird here, so I could put wave 3 here and wave 4 here, and then look at wave 5 here. It's also looking a little bit quite powerful here as well, so it's really starting to look like a bit of a 3rd wave here. I can see from here I can count 5 waves from here to here, right? And then I can count here as 1, 2 here, and then it'll be 3, 4, and 5 for the third wave, the fourth wave, and then the fifth wave up here. So that's why I'm thinking about the 10, 6 sort of area up here. But we don't have a lot to go up here, you know, and we'll just see how that that plays out at that point. But yeah, the Australian dollar here's got probably the nicest count out of all of them. I just need to double check in here. I haven't been in there for a while, so I can't actually recall what I've done in there, so I need to just double check on things. But we're on target to 65. That was our thing there. I know that the Australian dollar is not part of the euro thing, but I just wanted to compare the Australian dollar as wave count from the 2nd of Feb and the 14th of Feb and to where it is now, but we do have that overlap there. I can go an ABC pattern here for a W and then an X here, and then look at 3 waves down here. So we could just look, and we may get 3 waves, so an A and a B and a C wave for the Y wave, so a WXY here. You know, I don't know, but all I know is that we're coming down further, and we'll see. We'll see where that sits. And this is the cable here as well. So with the cable here, it's got us doing its own thing here at the moment. So this move up here, I just can't get 5 waves out of this, you know. So it looks to me this is some sort of A wave here, B wave here, and we've been looking at it as a flat correction and a triangle. But the break lower here, we talked about this yesterday, but the break lower here, we couldn't go long unless we had support up here on the 121, but if it was going to fail, it's going to fail in that box, and that's what it's done. So yeah, the only other thing I could add to this, it looks like a third wave, doesn't it? So a fourth and a fifth would suffice. But the only other thing that I think that we need to take on board here is putting wave 4 over here for this. So what that would do, that would give us an extra leg to the downside here. So once we get this into play, we'd have another leg to come in at that point. There'll be that extra leg at that point. So yeah, I mean, if you wanted to short this, you can re-short it, you know, closer to the 19 here. But that would be that at this point. And yeah, so I mean, these tops are so close to each other, but I don't see 5 waves here. I don't see a truncated 5th wave here, you know. So yeah, that's where that is. I think that's about it. That's about my 2 bobs worth really for all of this. So we just got to wait and see what, you know, what's what with Jeremy Powell's just going to stick to the narrative, and interest rates will be, you know, being pushed up. Like I said, with this situation here, what we've got to kind of figure out next really is, if I just go back to the 2K here for a moment. That gives that a little bit of perspective at this point here. So the Australian dollar bottoming out at the 65, and this topping out here would be about right. But it's not to say that that's the end of it. That's, you know, I can't prove that that's the top. Do you know what I mean? All I can do is count 5 waves to that point. There is something, not a bit of a miss here with the US dollar and the dollar and the euro dollar because of this overlap here. So that's a bit of a thing. And it would have been nice, this is another time the Fed spoke here, of course, and it would have been nice if that didn't spike out that, because then we could have looked at this as wave 1, because it makes a nice wave 1 actually, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a bit of overlap, but it's all good, and we had that corrective pattern here, and so that would have made that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here. So then we could have, you know, quite easily put the A wave here, the B wave over here, and then look at the C wave moving even up higher here, you know, going for a run up here into the where's that box up there on the daily chart. We'll just have a quick look at that. I think it's about 10, whoops a daisy, yeah, 10.8. So yeah, I mean, you know, maybe that's it too, you know, maybe that is the B wave, but this is not what the Australian dollar's telling me, you know. So we'll just see. We'll just see. I mean, I really feel quite strongly about, when I'm talking about the trading levels, I've got a good grip on them, and I understand that around price anyway. So I understand that we had the arrival, we had the reaction here. We knew that it was corrected because it was in three waves here. Just didn't know how far it was going to come down. But we had the arrival, the reaction, and now we're getting the first high above the level here. So that's going to be interesting when that tops out up into this base. It will come back and check this. So when that tops out and then comes back and checks this, that's when you're going to see the S&P and all the others move to the upside at that point. So they may come down to their 78.6 here or something like that, and then push up from that point, I'll only change this particular count if this low is taken out here. And in terms of trading, we're only going to go long in this if we get support back on the 4,000. So we'll see. But I know that it's going to be volatile today and in the next session and the following session. I know it's going to be tough. But I think the best thing to do is just sort of stand aside. It's very difficult to trade around announcements unless as soon as you see green, basically get your stop up under there and take it. Don't let green turn red, otherwise you'll get fined. Alrighty, I'll leave it at that. Thanks for putting up with me. Cheers.